Chapter 16 to 18, late at night, in the Sarutobi clan compound. Behind the banquet hall is a sealed room protected by sealing techniques. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat in a wide chair, dissatisfied, as he banged on the table. You too. One spends all day loafing around wanting to be a writer. The other mysteriously tinkers with God knows what, acting like a ghost. You're both almost 30. Can't you let me have some peace of mind? Where's Tsunade? I haven't seen her in ages. No idea, old man. Jiraiya leaned against the wall, hands behind his head, grinning frivolously. Maybe she's out gambling. Don't worry, once she loses all her money, she'll hide out here. She always loses, ha ha ha. Orochimaru's lips curved slightly. He stood with his arms crossed, his attitude much more respectful than Jiraiya's, but it was clear neither of them took this scolding as the Hokage's reprimand. At most, it was a sensei's loving chastisement for his students. At this moment, Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade weren't merely superior and subordinates, or sensei and students. They were more like a family, you brats. Hiruzen's beard quivered as he glared at them as a seinin. You shouldn't just think of yourselves. You need to think more about the village. If you could take on and teach some Uchiha and Hyuga children, they would contribute more in future wars. He earnestly spoke at length about it, but in the end, neither Jiraiya nor Orochimaru showed any intention of changing their minds. Hiruzen sighed, feeling a rare sense of my sons are grown, but they're useless. Forget it. I'll think and find another way. There are always more methods. As Hiruzen pondered, there was a sudden crash against the wall. Smoke and dust rose, and with brute force, the seal was easily broken. A blonde woman kicked aside the rubble, blowing her fist. Old man, got any more sake? Hiruzen's brow twitched violently, feeling uncharacteristically bewildered. How did he raise these three? He should have taught them to respect their sensei, but now they all acted like rebellious teens. Old man, bring the sake. Tsunade grinned, putting her hands around Hiruzen's neck. Got some good news, you'll be happy to hear. Hiruzen's eyes lit up. Tsunade, yep, that's right. Tsunade patted her chest, causing a noticeable ripple. I'm going to take on an apprentice. Who else? Out of everyone tonight, only that kid from the branch family is worthy. Yuto Hyuga. Who? Hiruzen exhaled in relief, praising, excellent choice, Tsunade. He's not only talented, but also capable of seeing things from a higher perspective. What his Byakugan can perceive isn't limited to just the Hyuga clan. Orochimaru was a bit surprised, and Jiraiya, unable to contain himself, asked directly, weren't you against taking on apprentices? Before returning to the village, the three of us agreed to stand united, no matter how much the old man persuaded us. Ouch. Tsunade reached out and twisted Jiraiya's arm fiercely and huffed. I suddenly changed my mind. This village, my grandfather's legacy, should nurture talented youth. Left with the Hyuga, even gems turn to stones. As she spoke, she subconsciously reached into her bosom, clutching a crystal necklace. Nawaki Dan. Today, I saw your shadows in a young Hyuga boy. He, like you, wants to be Hokage and protect this village. I miss you so much that I can't help but aid him, temporarily returning to Konoha to become his sensei. I hope I won't regret this. Right, when Yuto returned home, it was already midnight. As soon as he entered the house, he collapsed onto the bed. Fatigue and pain overwhelmed him instantly, and he felt his head spinning, ready to pass out at any moment. The activation of the caged bird seal was extremely harmful to the recipient. Although Tsunade had done her utmost to heal him, Yuto still needed some time to recuperate. "Shinosuke, Meiko, Naoto," Yuto murmured, his expression void of emotion. At this moment, he felt no waves in his heart. Ever since his parents died when he was 3, he viewed the entire Hyuga clan as enemies. He wore a thick mask every second he was within the clan grounds, always performing and scheming. Between enemies, killing and harming each other was normal. There was no such thing as betrayal. The main family could brand him with the caged bird seal. Shinosuke Hyuga could activate it without a care, and Naoto Hyuga could restrain him from behind, letting him suffer in pain. Naturally, Yuto could strike back, even more harshly and decisively. Harming each other was the job of enemies. Feeling drowsy, the branch family boy placed a shortened senbon in his mouth and drifted off to sleep. After an unknown amount of time, he was awakened by a faint tapping sound. "Who is it?" "Yuto Hyuga. The clan leader wants to see you." "All right." Yuto washed his face, removed the short needle from his mouth that prevented him from sleep-talking, and opened the door. He followed the Hyuga clan member who had come to relay the message towards the deeper parts of the compound. The night was thick. Yuto glanced at the position of the moon, knowing it wasn't yet dawn. He had slept for no more than 3 hours. Only one room in Hayashi Hyuga's residence was lit. Yuto was led inside and knelt on one knee before Hayashi. "Yuto-hun, stand up," Hayashi said gently. "Tomorrow, 2 hours after the sun fully rises, a servant from the Senju clan will bring an invitation. As a courtesy, I will prepare a reply." Under the gaze of the Byakugan, Yuto's chakra remained perfectly calm. What composure! No wonder Lady Tsunade favors him, Hayashi thought. He continued, after exchanging the letters, "You will become Tsunade-sama's apprentice. You performed well at tonight's banquet." Yuto exhaled softly. It seemed Nawaki Senju and Don Kato held significant places in Tsunade's heart. Through risk and calculation, Yuto finally got his wish, altering the storyline for the first time. He became Tsunade's second apprentice after Shizune. Yutakon Hayashi looked at the boy's forehead protector. The Hyuga have the distinction between the main and branch families, but the clan's heart is not divided. Whether main or branch, we all inherit the Byakugan. There are no closer relatives in this world. Remember that. "Clan leader, I understand," the branch family boy responded sincerely, bowing deeply. "Every little bit, I'll never forget." These past 2 days, something big happened in Konoha. The only remaining bloodline of the Senju clan, the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Tsunade Senju, has taken on a new apprentice. And that apprentice is none other than the recently famous jewel of the Hyuga, Yuto Hyuga. The civilians and regular shinobi couldn't think much of it and were simply happy. After all, it's a good thing that Lady Tsunade has returned to Konoha to train new talents. It signifies a seamless transfer of heritage within the village, and potentially another powerful warrior in the future. However, those who knew a bit more about the village's darker side were slightly surprised. The legendary Sannin had not taken on apprentices for a long time. Tsunade's sudden high profile returned to the village, and her taking a Hyuga boy as her disciple raised questions about whether the village leadership was reconsidering its policies towards the noble clans, or perhaps, both openly and covertly. The name Yuto Hyuga appeared in many conversations. The nickname Jewel of the Hyuga was at least well known throughout Konoha. The highly acclaimed Uto was currently in the Senju clan's compound. He knelt on the tatami, wearing a loose white robe with his long, smooth hair tied at the end with a red string. He appeared gentle and calm. Tsunade stood in front of him and threw out a package. "For you." "Yes, Tsunade-sensei." Yuto opened the package, which contained just a few simple clothes. A cloak, a vest, a jacket. The materials used for these clothes were excellent, and even with some force, Yuto couldn't tear them. More importantly, the back of each piece of clothing bore the emblem of the Senju clan. These were bought a long time ago from Kumogakya, the blonde woman remarked with curiosity. Don't underestimate those guys. Though they love kinjutsu and seem rough, they pay attention to detail in some areas. Especially the special combat fabric they use. Its durability is among the best in the 5 great nations. Probably because their intense kinjutsu training requires more durable clothing, huh? You're only 12, and although you've developed well, you still have a child's body. I had to search for a long time to find clothes that fit you. We'll prepare new ones as you grow. For some reason, Yuto felt that Tsunade's tone was a bit melancholic as she spoke. After thinking it over, he guessed the reason she probably remembered her deceased brother. Perhaps these clothes originally belonged to Nawaki. Yuto sighed inwardly and chose a green coat to wear over his white kimono. Though he preferred red, in Konoha, white with a red robe or red with a white robe was reserved for the Hokage. Wearing the white kimono of the Hyuga clan, he had to be careful. Very cute. Tsunade patted Yuto's head with satisfaction. How have you been these past few days? Very good. Yuto replied sincerely. More people in the village recognize me now. Although I know most of them don't acknowledge me for myself. But because of the prestige of the Senju clan and you, sensei, it is still very satisfying. The feeling of being trusted and expected. It's addictive. Our apprentices naturally attract such attention. Ever since that guy taught Minato, the village has had high expectations for our students. I won't disappoint you, sensei. Oh, do you have the confidence to surpass Minato? To be honest, not at all. Minato-sama is a true genius, far beyond me. Yes, mastering the Flying Thunder God technique makes one very formidable. Tsunade smiled as she ruffled Yuto's hair. So, just be yourself and don't worry about others. Yuto almost wanted to laugh. The chakra of the Senju clan was filled with vitality, warm and cozy. With Tsunade standing with her back to the sunlight, he felt a strange sensation, as if a large golden retriever was petting him. Don't be rude, Yuto. The woman in front of you just gave you new clothes. Yuto reminded himself as he took a deep breath and sat upright. Don't be nervous, Yuto. Tsunade withdrew her hand and looked at her disciple seriously. Tell me, what goals do you have? Don't say becoming Hokage. That's a dream requiring a long time to achieve. In the short term, what do you want to do? Yuto Hyuga thought for a while and then said carefully, Sensei, I know that war is about to start. More and more information tells me that the world is on the brink of intense change. Konoha, Kumogakyo, Kirigakyo. It seems all the shinobi villages are amassing something. As a Konoha shinobi, a member of the Hyuga clan, and a disciple of one of the Sannin, I have no reason not to go to the battlefield. Therefore, my only thought now is that during the war, I want to protect my comrades in the village. Even if it costs my life and these eyes, I won't back down. Tsunade was slightly stunned and suddenly recalled what her teacher said the night before. That child can think from a higher perspective. What he sees is not just limited to the Hyuga clan. A 12-year-old child could already see the world's turbulent changes. Tsunade sighed and said softly, if you want to protect your comrades, you need to achieve 2 things. First, at least a basic knowledge of medical ninjutsu, and second, the strength to fight the enemy. She looked out the window at the vast but empty Senju clan grounds. There was no one in sight. In fact, at this time, Only she and Yuto were in the entire Senju compound. You probably know that the most powerful ability of the Senju clan is the Keki Genkai would release. But unfortunately, including myself, no one in the world has this power anymore. I can't teach you the Senju clan's ultimate techniques. What I can give you are the things I've mastered myself. What you will teach me is naturally going to be the best. You really know how to flatter. Indeed, men are the cutest when they're young. Tsunade laughed. In the coming period, I will teach you the basics of medical ninjutsu and a few of my specialty techniques. I'll adjust the teaching speed according to your progress. She thoughtfully touched her chin. I watched your fight that night. Good physical condition, solid foundation in the 3 basic techniques, and the jutsu you developed has potential. Combining it with superhuman strength might be a good approach. The blonde woman suddenly slapped her thigh hard. Forget it. Talking so much is useless. We both lean towards taijutsu. So what kind of training suits you can only be determined after getting to know you better. She tied her hair with a rope and then took out a bell to hang on her waist. Uto immediately understood what she wanted to do, a traditional ice-breaking game between Konoha mentors and their students. Come on, Uto. The blonde woman cracked her knuckles, standing proudly like a Valkyrie. The location is restricted to the back mountain of the Senju clan compound. From now until sunset, you have half a day to take this bell from me. At sunset, in Konoha, within the Senju clan territory, due to wars and various accidents, the top clan of the ninja world, the Senju clan of the forest, has drastically weakened, leaving only Tsunade Senju as the direct bloodline descendant. The vast clan territory had been uninhabited for a long time. The walls were old and mottled, the roofs and stone steps were cracked, and only the massive statues of Hashirama Senju testified to the family's former glory. However, today, the long-deserted Senju territory was brimming with new life. Boom! A loud explosion erupted from the back mountain of the Senju territory. Several large trees were easily snapped by monstrous strength, and the flying trunks cut through the forest, leaving a dragon-like trail of dust. Such slender and fair arms could unleash such terrifying power, with just her chakra-enhanced strength. Tsunade could firmly stand among the Jonin Yuto, panting heavily, hid behind a huge rock. Since the bell-stealing game started, several hours had passed. He had used every method, set traps, launched sneak attacks, and even used explosive tags. But even with the advantage of his Byakugan, the gap between him and Tsunade was still too great. Yo, my dear disciple, are you too shy to meet your teacher? The golden-haired woman stood on a large tree in the sunset's afterglow, her arms crossed, overlooking the surroundings. Don't forget, your task is to steal the bell from my waist. Tsunade shook a bit, and the bell moved, making a crisp sound. Yuto took a deep breath and said helplessly, Tsunade-sensei, for someone like me, challenging a Sannin-level opponent is really too early. Although it's quite embarrassing to say this, Sensei, can you go a bit easier on me? Tsunade laughed. With your current abilities, you indeed can't even touch me, so I'll lower the difficulty for you. She took off the bell and threw it high into the sky. For 5 seconds, I won't go after the bell. If you catch it within this time, you pass. With the 360-degree vision of the Byakugan, the woman's spread fingers were clearly visible. The bell would probably stop at the highest point in about 3 seconds and then fall freely. There was still time. Yuto focused the remaining chakra in his eyes and legs and dashed out from behind the rock. The Byakugan's terrifying insight allowed him to take in every detail within a kilometer, including the dirt he stepped on, the shallow traces left by the wind on the leaves, the slight curve of the golden-haired woman's mouth, and the bell glowing golden in the sunset. Boom! Yuto instantly covered over 100 meters and jumped onto a tree in a few leaps. Above him, the bell lost its speed, paused in the air, and then fell freely. Time's up. At this moment, Tsunade suddenly spoke and disappeared from her original spot in a flash. Body flicker, Yuto thought to himself and made a quick decision. He jumped forcefully, aiming to grab the bell first. Almost simultaneously, Tsunade's fist hit Yuto's back, and Yuto's hand touched the bell. The branch family boy was spun away like a top. Fortunately, Tsunade had held back. Otherwise, this blow could have snapped his spine. The bell Yuto lost his balance and felt dizzy. The bell was within reach, but he couldn't grab it. Fortunately, he still had a sense of space. As he was about to hit the ground, he kicked a nearby tree, adjusted his posture, and managed to land on his feet at the last moment. I must get the bell. Yuto stretched out his left hand to grab the bell while blindly striking backward with his other hand, focusing all his chakra on his fingertips. With a bang, Tsunade and Yuto landed simultaneously. A tenth of a second later, a crisp sound echoed through the mountains. The bell fell to the ground, and Yuto ultimately failed to catch it. Behind the branch family boy, the golden-haired beauty caught his right hand and effortlessly pinned him down. "You're very smart, Yuto," Tsunade praised her disciple. "At the last moment, you guessed the direction of my attack and used gentle fist to block it in advance. Although you didn't succeed, it was still a brilliant tactic." Yuto shrugged and winced. The blind spot of the Byakugan is directly behind the first thoracic vertebra. Anyone who knows this would naturally attack there. Unfortunately, your taijutsu skills are far superior to mine. Tsunade released him and flicked the dust off the bell with her foot, picking it up. Yuto, the blind spot of the Byakugan, is not a fatal weakness. What's the difference between a 360-degree view and a 359-degree view? Many clever people, like you just did, use that blind spot as a trap to lure enemies, turning a weakness into a strength. Yuto stood respectfully, listening to his teacher's guidance. Ignore the blind spot of the Byakugan, Yuto. Your biggest weakness now is Gentle Fist. Gentle Fist, the proud taijutsu of the Hyuga clan, is strong in its own right. Often, it can injure enemies internally and target their acupoints. But the core of Gentle Fist is injecting your own chakra into the enemy's most vulnerable parts. Ultimately, most of your attacks must be executed through physical contact with the enemy. What if you encounter someone using an iron shell? Even a C-rank defensive earth release could render you helpless. On the battlefield, Hyuga shinobi often pair with explosive squads to compensate for their long-range weaknesses and inability to break through tough defenses. On the battlefield, complementing each other is fine, but you are different, Yuto. You are my disciple. Reputation is a double-edged sword. Beheading the genius of the Hyuga branch family and taking the life of one of the three, Sanin Tsunade's disciple, have entirely different strategic significances. Moreover, if you truly aspire to become Hokage, you must achieve perfection in your combat skills. Yuto, what was that technique you used at the banquet? Yuto replied respectfully, "Lion's Fang Bite, Tsunade-sensei. A great attempt. I see a lot of potential in this technique. You probably realized the issues with Gentle Fist and are already working to overcome your weaknesses. Yuto, from now on, we'll focus on two things. First, I'll teach you medical ninjutsu. Don't underestimate or resist it. Learning medical ninjutsu can greatly enhance your chakra control. Second, I'll teach you chakra-enhanced strength and help you perfect Lion's Fang Bite. Jiraiya and Minato are experts in shape transformation, ninjutsu. We can often consult them. As for other jutsu, like the yin seal on my forehead, I'll teach you, but not now. Yuto, getting stronger can't be rushed. Yuto nodded, fully agreeing with his golden-haired teacher. Sensei, I understand. Biting off more than you can chew is futile. What a sensible child. Suna chuckled, patting the boy's head. At this moment, the sun had completely set, and the back mountain of the Senju territory was enveloped in darkness. Let's go, Yuto Tsunade stretched lazily. I'm so tired. Let's go have some ramen. Whatever you say, Tsunade Sensei. Yuto, you pay. Your sensei has lost all her money. Ha ha ha.